Who uses Terminus best? That's a question I wanted to entertain myself for a little bit. And I wanted to come to first, realize a little bit more about the item before I start guessing who could make better use of it. Currently, as it stands, Terminus is only used by on-hit ADCs that happen to get Rage Blade. I think the most prominent one I've seen is Kog'Maw, who likes to play on the tankier end. Wit's End, playing into it, maybe considering getting Jack Show as well, just being a very tanky, annoyingly tanky Kog'Maw, where his some damage seems to poke through from his max health W, and using that range to his advantage. But Kog'Maw is mostly AP, and Terminus grants resistances, but hybrid penetration that you do have to ramp up. And I wanted to entertain the idea who can utilize both those resistances and the hybrid penetration great without compensating or trying to build fully into it. Because Kog'Maw, he has to throw away his own. Well, he doesn't have to, but I've seen most people try to play opt into getting Wit's End, Jack Show, and making it easier for them to just be tankier and last out their opponent trying to burst them down. They don't have any real armor pen and maybe just a little bit of lethality. It works great against assassins. Aside from that, I'm not really sure. And in that case, he's more on hit than he is anything else. No AD, no AP. Just trying to figure out where they could play best. So I wanted to ask the question, who can utilize it better? Both percentage penetrations and resistances. One person that came to mind was Ezreal. Ezreal deals quote-unquote hybrid damage. His Q is his main DPS, but his W, his E, his R even deals a lot of damage, but you're throwing away a lot if you build Terminus first or closer to one of the first items. His whole gimmick seems to be about high AD, high AP, and Trinity Force as his core item. Taking away Trinity Force for going Terminus first is a bit of a throw. It doesn't offer a lot of AD, offers no ability haze, just a little bit of attack speed. His passive can play into it slightly, giving him bonus attack speed to help him proc it easier, but from what he's giving up, it doesn't feel like a good purchase. Not initially, maybe at the later end, but even then you can consider that maybe being a throw. So okay, let's think outside of Marksman. Ezreal could proc that, but ideally he'd never want to be locked down with the resistances and be able to actually fully utilize him. Might let him live a bit longer. So let's think of someone maybe melee, a bruiser, or a fighter of some sort. An idea that came to mind was Volibear. His kit is mostly AD, but he has some good magic damage he can penetrate through. But even that item on Volibear first or closer first, even at the end, feels very dodgy. He is sort of a slow-moving target. He does have his Q to ramp up his speed a little bit and chase targets, but it's very predictable, very choreographed. If anyone decides to stop halt him, hit him before he actually hits his target and starts ramping up, because he does have 2 auto resets that apply on hits. His Q, his W, and letting him stack up Terminus pretty quickly if he gets a chance to actually stick on someone and get to them. Before that, none of those penetrations, none of those resistances will be active, and the item is more or less useless as he's just trying to get there. So until he gets there, the item isn't doing much. So now you got a different issue. Volibear can be somewhat tanky, and he can thrive off both resistances, but he can't stack up Terminus quick enough or as easily to get it active before he can get caught out. So start thinking who has hybrid kits that can utilize both damage sets and use the resistances. And then I thought, Shyvana. You can utilize both sets of the item. Let's just take a quick look here. Just remind ourselves what Terminus does. 30 attack damage, 35 attack speed. Not a lot of both stats, but in between can grant you 18 resistances of either or, up to 24, scales on your level. You can get 3 stacks of light and dark, each one giving penetration or resistances of the other kind. And at max stacks, 30 resistances, 30 penetration, and at max stacks, 24 at the end when you start leveling up. Resistances of both kind, and 30 penetration of both AP and AD. So start thinking who can use both and stack it up pretty quick. And then it came to me, Shyvana. And the more I started looking into trying to see if Shyvana can use this sort of item, the more I feel like it started making more sense. Initially, just from the get-go, you can see she gains bonus armor and resistances when she takes away any drinks. Assuming you get the objectives. If you don't, if you're unlucky or the other team's, more coordinated, this could be rough trying to get those dragons and trying to get those free resistances for yourself. But assuming you do, Terminus this, and maybe add conditioning on top of it, and then it gives a lot of leeway as to where you stand and how tanky you are just initially off of just trying to work with the item. And why is Shyvana better at stacking the item than other people is because of this, her Q. Her Q is an auto reset that applies on hits. It applies an extra on hit as a second attack coming after the empowered attack. In dragon form, it's spontaneous. She attacks basically twice while applying that on hit. But also on top of that, she has bonus attack speed for the next 2 autos. So, just by pressing Q alone, she can get 4 autos in, easier than normal, to try to proc Terminus. Or 4 procs of it, I guess. The first one, empowered auto. The second one, the auto, that quote-unquote auto, that follows after that applies the on hit, and then attack speed for 2 extra autos. That is most of Terminus done. But that is not considering the fact that this is an auto reset. You auto someone once, and then hit Q just once. And then all of a sudden, 5 autos are very easily done to try to proc Terminus. After that, you just need 1 more, and then full Terminus is active on you. You can look over her kit and see that she can actually utilize both damage sets fairly well. Just to skim through it, Q, she autos a lot. That's her core DPS. She autos a lot. And her Q, it resets quicker depending on how many autos she can get done. Right here, you can see as a center, basic attacks reduced twinge bite, the ability, current cooldown by half a second per auto. Because she's autoing a lot, she's going to get that done, and she can just spam autos through and through. Her W deals magic damage surrounding her, and also gives her an on-hit, an AP on-hit. So she's autoing a lot, utilizing that AD, that physical percentage armor pen, and then she has an on-hit that can help her a little bit. Okay, it's an on-hit, it's a flat on-hit, not that crazy. But over here, with her E, if you mark someone with her E, the damage itself from the E is magic damage. But that mark, when you auto someone, it doesn't detonate immediately, it stays on them. And you can auto them and deal max health magic damage. She has flat and percentage on-hit magic damage from her W and her E. Her dragon form, her O, is magic damage, and normally use that to engage, so it won't see much merit. You won't get the chance to stack it up before you use your O. Normally use that to engage. But from the rest, looking at the rest, she can utilize that, and she can stack up her kit not only very easily with Terminus, but also use the damages from both kinds. Her auto is plentiful, will use that armor pen, and her abilities complementing her autos will use up the magic pen. And the resistances will play along with her bonus armor that she gets along the game, assuming she does get some here and there. So, what would the runes look like, maybe? I think of more like a bruiser front with like a durability end, a subset of runes. Let me show you what I came up with. Here, let's just go ahead and just explain the runes real quick, and then I'll move on to showing the build idea, and then proving a little bit of what this is to her. So, firstly, Conqueror. Press Attack is a popular rune on Shyvana. She can proc it very easily because of her Q, the same idea that she can proc Terminus pretty easily. The issue is, from what I've seen and from what I noticed, it doesn't bring win long term. I've been able to test this and play it through, try Press the Attack, try Lethal Tempo, try Conquer, and figure out what is the best scenario. And Conquer just offers more for a longer fight when you're doing these sort of the build. Basically, I'm trying to play out. If you just try to stick it out and stay there, Press the Attack will have value initially, but if the fight drags on, then you'll see a very sudden loss in DPS, and all of a sudden you're kind of like losing the trade. Lethal Tempo isn't bad, but it doesn't offer as much as Conquer can. Conquer gives adapted force, and to that it can play into getting bonus AD, which a lot of your stuff can scale off of. Just about everything besides your ult, and I guess your passive. AD here, AD ratios here, AD ratios here. And then that Omnivamp. That Omnivamp 38N is what will let you push and stay in the fight longer, and then win over your person, just dealing a good amount of DPS, a great amount of DPS, and sustaining a little bit over someone who might not. All of a sudden, that Omnivamp will give you an edge over certain characters where you can stay on them and keep going at it relentlessly. The typical scenario is like a tank or just someone who's lacking sustain. All of a sudden, your damage means more because you're sustaining off of it. Triumph makes the most sense because Life Absorber or that new rune doesn't really play a good part. It doesn't do a lot for you. Presence of Mind doesn't do anything for you. You don't have a resource besides Fury, and even then that's pretty easy to build up. This is where it's really up to everyone's preference. Legend Bloodline, Legend Haze, Legend Alacrity. It's all up to your preference, but I normally like to stick around with Legend Bloodline. It gives me a bit more health to work with at the very end, and then Lifesteal. That Lifesteal that feels a lot more valuable all of a sudden when you're trying to clear cams, when you're trying to beat someone 1v1, and your DPS is great, but you just can use a little bit of sustain to push you over that edge. Legend Bloodline is my personal favorite. You can play around with Cut Down and Last Stand. Last Stand I found it has the most damage. I can put up fourth, because if as the fight's going on, Conquer is stacking on, Terminus is stacking up, and then if I get closer to my wit's end, then not the item, like my literal wit's end, and then I can do a little bit more damage and pump that out before they can do me in, and I can come out on top. Conditioning, it's really important. With passive, with Terminus, and maybe a few items you'll pick along the way, and getting more dragons, you can get very tanky, very quick, and you can offer a great amount of DPS to work off of. Overgrowth helps with that, makes you more tankier inherently, makes those resistances put into better use when you have a lot more health to work with. For the little things here, the rune stats, attack speed, I like to go with the scaling health, and tenacity / slow resist. Depending on how your build go, you might not have a little bit of tenacity, or you might have a lot. Having just this can help a long term, a lot more than you think. And the idea and the build with Shyvana can go two ways. The fact that she has both damages in her kit, and she can prioritize them, she can go AP or 80, which really makes her really safe. I'm playing around with Shyvana a good bit. I love her now. And really like to do is go like a tankier build, like Bruiser to start off with, and then tankier build. But here, let me just first get on to what my biggest point was. That I can stack up Terminus in a matter of seconds. So, it's going to be an auto reset, and then it applies Empowered Auto with a secondary auto that applies on hit, and then attack speed for 2 extra autos. So, auto reset, 1, 2, 3. I fully stacked Conquer and fully stacked Terminus, giving me bonus AD, Omnivamp, resistances, and hybrid penetration within seconds. All I have to do is just get up to them, and then auto them a few times. Move around, make it easier. Now, you can go AP or AD, but I'll just showcase my favorite AD build. Terminus, you can rush first if you really want to for camp clear, and get Ravenous first, and then Terminus. They really play well off of each other. Ravenous having a lot more life still to work with, and a means of clearing your camps a lot easier, gathering that fury, moving around the map, and sustaining a bit better with your Conquer and Legend Bloodline. Yeah, but another item I really love to pair is that hybrid penetration, the build going off of your kit. Aside from your ult, most of your damage comes from your basic abilities. Spear of Shojin is genuinely not a bad item. Once again, you can stack it pretty quick. It works a little bit differently, but it's not hard to do. So, a Q is 1, but your W, every tick is 1 proc. So let me just let it reset. And just I'm gonna EQW. There you go. Quicker than Terminus, I can fully stack it, getting 12% amping damage for my reoccurring Q, my E, my ongoing W. A great amount of DPS I'm popping out. This is just from 2 items. From here, you probably want to play into tank. Go into what the enemy team is like and debate what you should do and what you need to get. If they're very heavy magic damage, I'd recommend getting Witch End if you want to be more aggressive end. Hollow Radiance wouldn't be bad. If they're super heavy on magic damage, maybe get Force in Nature, considering getting that. Since you have Conditioning, play into it, that bonus resistances can go a long way. If they're hybrid, maybe consider getting something for on each end if they have like a lot of people that auto and sustain, maybe Thornmail. Ending isn't bad. Jackshow is great considering you have Conditioning. Zig's Convergence might not even be a bad item as well because you can get your ult very easily. Let me try to see if I can just show you here real quick. Shyvana has Fury instead of an actual cooldown for ult. If you let it wait out, it will take longer to gain over time. As you scale your ult, it's a little bit easier. But really, all you have to do is just attack things. I'm already quarter way through, and I'm not even done with this camp. I'm halfway through, and I'm getting close to getting my ult, just like this. I'm 3/4 of the way through, and my ult just expired. I do 2 camps, and then all of a sudden, I have my ult again. Consider getting these 2 as the core items, but aside from that, you really just want to go tank, adjust to the enemy team, and then play alongside your team. If you're a little bit creative, you decide to go for some other things here and there, maybe you can opt out for less resistances and more for damage. If you have like a high AP team, you can always go for one of my favorite items, the damage amping Abyssal Mass, boosting the damage by 12%. If you have an assassin on your team that's going heavy magic penetration, flat and percentage, this will help them do over damage, over what supposedly the damage is supposed to be, if they min-max their penetration. It'll help in the long term as well. Most of your things are magic damage, just your Q and your autos being the exception. If I was trying to be like a AP aggressive Shyvana, maybe something along the lines of what would look like the final build might turn out to be something like this. If they're on the magic damage, if the enemy team is on the magic damage end, 2 magic resist items and Terminus on top of it, I'm dealing a good considerable amount of damage, great attack speed, and I have a lot of magic resist to show for it. If I want to go like an 80 aggressive Shyvana, I might consider Berserkers or Boost of Swiftness if I want to get on their face and just stay on them. Because one of the harder issues with Shyvana is that she does have a little bit of move speed to work with, but trying to stay on them could be an issue. Swifties wouldn't be a bad call. You can go Berserkers, or you could just play on the tankier side, get one of the resistance boots that help reduce the damage or give you tenacity. You can definitely get Ravenous if I was going 80. And then this Dead Man's Plate gives me up to 118 bonus damage when I auto someone when it's fully charged. A Sheen item that also gives armor. Iceborne Gauntlet lets me cling on to them, giving me a good amount of move speed to stay on them, but also a great amount of armor to fend them off. And once again, having both resistances and both types of penetration on me, making all my damage shine through. But that's more or less the build. The core gimmick is Terminus, consider Spirit Shojin, but go tank. Terminus can be very easily stacked up on Shyvana. Auto reset. And there you go. Max stacks, Conquer, and Terminus all together. If anyone decides to fight you while you're spamming your buttons, it's at their own risk. That's more or less the core build. I'd love to make a video or 2 on it because I genuinely enjoy this build. Trying to showcase maybe both ends, AD and AP, and trying to see trying to show off how you can adjust to fit your team and the enemy.